The following is a Coin 6 news special. 30 years ago, I lived on the streets to report on Portland's homeless problem. I'm Jeff Gianola. Tonight, I'm back on the streets asking, when did Portland's homeless problem become a homeless crisis? It's the unsheltered truth. It's Sunday morning in downtown Portland. The streets are quiet, some people are headed to church, and nearby, I make my way into a makeshift homeless camp. Pops? Are you doing okay, Pops? Inside this tent, a 70-year-old man moaning in pain. I just want to make sure Pops is doing okay.
Oh, man.
He's known as Pops. He's been living on the streets for the last 10 years. Pops suffers from severe neuropathy. He hasn't been able to get up from the ground for the last few days. Pops, your feet are not in good shape.
No. They feel like blocks of wood.
Nearby at Southwest 11th and Columbia, a lone tent dots the sidewalk. Is that Princess? Hello? Hi, how are you? Remember, she calls herself Princess. For the last month, this has been her home.
Life or trouble?
Well, life in general for you. Strangers pass by, sometimes offering food.
There are some other things inside.
A lost soul living on a Portland sidewalk.
There's been people who just hit me 10 times and took the rest of my stuff.
Across the river on the east side, Samantha has been living by herself in a tent by a dumpster near a loading dock. She's 24.
I had all these laid down, and I would just lay down. There's a pallet underneath there, and I had a shopping cart over there with my tools and my clothes.
Sam tells me her story of struggling to kick drug addiction and living on the street.
This is the heater that we use for heat or whatever. I just take this thing and I pee in this.
It is also moving day for Samantha. The owner of this business wants her off his loading dock.
I was gonna buy a bigger tent yesterday, but I didn't have the funds for it.
Where will you stay tonight?
Probably this car lot over on Sandy.
Across the river in downtown Portland, the city ordered this group of homeless to pack up their sidewalk camp.
No, he doesn't usually have a tent. We're usually outside.
They will set up a new camp a few blocks away. And just up the street, I check back in with Princess. She's been notified of a sweep. Her tent and belongings will be removed.
Surely it's not safe.
It's not safe, is it?
It's not good, but...
In talking with her, Princess appears to have mental health issues. She's not moving. And what about Samantha? Well, after being kicked off the loading dock, Sam has set up her tent just a block away with a group of other homeless.
It doesn't really matter.
The city has already posted notice. This sidewalk will be cleared within 48 hours. 2 days later, they make good on that promise.
They just came in and they started ripping tarps off of our tents and just were totally rude to me and were asking if anyone was in the tent and if I was telling them my real name.
So we give them a 24-hour notice. We do our postings on Fridays. So we actually give them more than 24 hours. We give them the weekend.
Portland police officers Ryan Angweiler and Tim Angstrom do their jobs with precision and compassion.
We're the only two officers in the entire city that have this job, and our full-time job is to go to the camps, do whatever outreach we can, office services.
These officers know Sam.
We've done a referral on her a while back and are kind of guiding her through the process, trying to get her off the street and into housing.
But while waiting for housing, Sam will remain living on the street, just not here. And where will most of these people go after this?
We try to guide them, but we can only guide them so far.
Another group of homeless moving to another sidewalk, loading dock, doorway. It's sweep and repeat.
I'm not proclaiming that sweep and repeat has no effect. I just think there's a group of people for whom the options are so slim, you're just going to keep playing whack-a-mole and move them around the city.
It seems to me in this business, you always have to deal with the reality. It's one thing to say, Bill Russell heads up Union Gospel Mission.
It drives people more underground, deeper in, more into hiding. And then the question is public policy, is that what we want? Or do we want to draw people into a place where they can get help?
Yeah, we got chicken pasta Italiano.
Union Gospel Mission's search and rescue team knows where to look for the homeless. For the rescue crew, it's a long night. Stops under overpasses and bridges. These same tents and carts will disappear next week and reappear the following week. Sweep and repeat.
This is where they come through at.
Greg Baker heads up Blanchet House, which has been helping Portland's homeless for 70 years. Baker says Portland now has a national reputation.
People come here and say, I was in Portland. Oh, the atmosphere was so nice. The mountains were beautiful. The grapes and all the food, they've got more. The salmon was wonderful. They talk about all these great things. And they say it's a nice place to visit. But you know the last thing they say? They say, but I don't understand why they've got such an intense homeless problem out there. And they don't talk about that for 5 seconds. They talk about that for 5 minutes.
Disheartening to just call this my city I love to see what's happening here.
Seth Longacre runs a Northwest Portland shoe and apparel business with his brother Zach. They're lifelong Portland residents. He's compassionate but frustrated with what he sees.
We can move it around the city, and that's what happens. We call and they say, okay, for a week it's gone. It's over in Springwater Corridor. It's in Southeast Industrial Area. It's over by the Rose Quarter. It just moves around.
Princess, it's Jeff again. How are you? Back on a downtown sidewalk at 11th and Columbia, Princess has paid no attention to a notice to pack up. The cleanup crews came, removed her tent, cleared the sidewalk. There was one thing they didn't take. Late that night, as a light rain falls, Princess is curled up on the sidewalk in a wet blanket. They took her tent, her belongings. They left Princess behind. That's the unsheltered truth. The Unsheltered Truth continues.
Hello, it's the police. You know anything about this green bike out here? It's torn apart?
No.
It's right next to your tent. You don't know anything about it?
No.
What about this electric bike?
Officer Dave Sanders knows the homeless by the tents they live in and by the bikes they steal.
Well, they steal them so they can get around to commit more crimes, typically. It's transportation, but if you have a bike, you have a getaway vehicle, you can, go break into a car and then ride off.
He also knows the homeless by the drugs they use.
You got a loaded syringe right next to your hand there. You want to squirt it out in the dirt here and we'll call it good?
On this visit, Officer Sanders recovers a $1,500 electric bike and another stolen bike broken into pieces. For Officer Sanders, it's an unending cycle of theft.
And then often what we find is when we arrest these folks with stolen bikes, then we get a backpack full of electronics and car prowl items.
If someone is committing crime, it is crime. Homelessness is here, crime is here.
Bill Russell has worked with Portland's homeless for almost 30 years. He heads up Union Gospel Mission.
The fact that crime's being committed by a homeless person doesn't change the fact that it's a crime and it needs to be interdicted on a criminal level.
Theft is one problem, health and safety is another.
People actually literally pooping in our stoop, urinating on our front door. It's literally an everyday problem.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Eric Bowler owns 3 Old Town businesses.
The city has an agency you call for that, right?
Right, they're called Clean and Safe.
And what do they do exactly?
They're responsive and they come and they help, but it's really just putting a Band-Aid on a much worse problem.
It's a problem faced by other business owners. Last fall, one downtown jewelry store owner finally moved.
We have piles of excrement at the door, or we have vomit. We've had spit down the door that we have to take care of.
Her store cameras capturing this scene over and over, a person defecating in front of her store in the middle of the day. She had had enough.
I've been here 29 years in Old Town at Union Gospel Mission, and it still offends me highly. It bothers me deeply when someone defecates on the streets. It's like that's a sign of the dehumanization of the problem at an intolerable level.
You guys are clean and safe? Hey, we're just doing a story on you guys.
During our walk around Old Town, we run into 2 clean and safe officers.
If someone's sleeping in a doorway or if someone's gone to the bathroom in the thing, then you guys, how do you guys respond to that?
Just a second.
I think we're getting a call.
Oh, sorry. You just got a call?
As they walk away, Eric points to the doorway of one of his businesses.
This is the entrance to my business right here, yeah. Clearly this person's cold. They don't have proper cover. It's not warm out today.
So we just saw Clean and Safe walk by.
They walked right by, yeah.
But they couldn't address this.
Right. Even though I have a trespass agreement filed with the city.
Unless they get a specific complaint, the problem is ignored.
Do you think that's right?
I don't think so, no. Because how can I be here 24 hours a day making sure the neighborhood is safe?
It's not just Portland's Old Town District or downtown. This business at Northwest 18th and Thurman has dealt with the problem for years.
There was a prostitution ring being run out of a tent across the street where there was literally guys with numbers waiting for their turn to go into the tent.
Seth Longacre owns this shoe and apparel store.
We've had guys running guns out of an abandoned car that they were sleeping in.
They've invested.
Over the last 2 decades, our elected officials have run for office debating how to deal with the homeless.
They all knew what the problems were going into it. Those problems have been the same for 20 years. They've just been spiraling out of control, and we've been kicking the can down the road for the next guy to deal with. It's just the same thing over and over and over again. We need somebody with a fresh idea who's willing to ruffle some feathers.
And acceptable housing is going to start with a roof over everybody's head.
Meet the Feather Ruffler. Developer Homer Williams, with the support of local business owners, has launched Harbor of Hope.
Times change. And it's changed very quickly.
When Unsheltered Truth continues, you'll see his bold new concepts to care and house for the homeless, and we look at the controversial decision not to turn a never-used jail facility into a homeless shelter.
Look, I don't believe in making excuses, but that's an excuse, guys. You know, I don't know who's presenting the business plans on how you address the homeless population, but I know that there are bright people, energetic people here who want to do something about it.
And that's the Unsheltered Truth. The Unsheltered Truth continues. 30 years ago, in my report on Portland's homeless, I documented a population constantly on the move. Meals, shelter, showers, social services scattered across the city. 30 years later, not much has changed.
You gotta go here, you gotta go there, you gotta go everywhere. I mean,
it would be nice to have one place that had everything there, wouldn't it?
Everything, yeah.
And many felt this could have been that place, the never-used Wapato Jail with more than 500 beds and space for not only food and shelter, but services like mental health evaluations, case management, medical and dental, job and life skills training.
All those in favor vote aye. Aye.
But last month, Multnomah County Commissioners rejected the idea, selling the building to a developer for commercial use.
It's too expensive. It's too far from services. There's no transportation. And the land use policies don't allow it.
And I heard everything from, well, it's too far out, we don't have transportation, it doesn't have access.
Greg Baker heads up Portland's Blanchet House. They've been feeding, housing, and rehabilitating lives for 70 years.
I saw Wapato as an economic development engine to address a major problem here, and people didn't want to do it. They made all kinds of excuses.
I do think it's feasible to create a staging area out there and breed collaboration and partnership.
Bill Russell runs Union Gospel Mission. He says Wapato could have mirrored Haven for Hope, the successful homeless program in San Antonio.
We don't have adequate staging areas to direct the homeless to. And so if Wapato can serve as that, I'm all for it.
The county did spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on this building, a former strip club, to house homeless families.
Good morning, everyone. Rise and shine.
There were sanitary and structural problems. Part of the roof collapsed last fall. In February, the county helped relocate 110 parents and children to other shelters.
That's what upsets a lot of business people and people outside of government. They think that they're wasting opportunities. for political reasons, and that's never good.
Local developer Homer Williams and his nonprofit Harbor of Hope lost their chance to turn Wapato into a homeless shelter. Then, a surprise. The new owner quickly sold his interest to another developer who offered Williams a lease to run Wapato as a shelter.
It's got everything you need. Kitchen, offices, for land where you could build transitional housing.
It's still unclear if Harbor of Hope can get final approval to run Wapato as a shelter, but they have another plan.
This is an ongoing problem, which is not going to be going away with just one building. So I'm committed to being around for the long term.
Last month, Columbia Sportswear CEO Tim Boyle donated $1.5 million to Harbor of Hope and a new homeless plan, a proposed shelter to be erected near the west end of the Broadway Bridge, a homeless navigation center for up to 120 people, all donated by local businesses.
The problem is so big that it's going to take an effort far above what the city's capable of doing. It doesn't have the money.
But it's not just lack of money. Local government leaders have always pushed permanent housing first over shelters.
Housing first. Everything's housing first. Yeah, realistically, you got a need for 25,000 units of housing every year. And you go to the development office or you go to City Hall and see if you can get it done. You can't get it done. You're not going to get anywhere near it. And so you're always running behind. Just look at it. You're going to be running behind.
The push behind Harbor of Hope: deal with the current crisis now.
The reality of it is job one, get these people in a safe place with a covered roof, with the proper medical care, with showers, with bathrooms, and with food.
I'm checking back with Princess. Princess, it's Jeff again. How are you? A young homeless woman on a downtown sidewalk. She has fashioned a makeshift tent out of old umbrellas, silently watching as people and traffic go by. Greg Baker recalls a story about another young homeless woman.
She put all her belongings around her and she sat in the middle and she just started screaming. She screamed at the top of her lungs. People walked by that lady like no big deal. But the point is this: that young lady had a name. She had a family, somebody that cared for her. She needed to be placed somewhere where she could be taken care of. That is an unadulterated shame, in my opinion, that we allow that to happen. I'm telling you guys, we're missing the boat. And it's not just you or me, it's all of us. We're missing the boat.
"1,000 miles away in another city, the boat has arrived."
We call ourselves an empowerment program, not an entitlement program.
I've traveled to San Diego to meet Bob McElroy. He heads up Alpha Projects.
It's intake, triage, and assessment. We have all the services here for everybody.
This is a sprung structure, a huge prefab building housing 320 homeless men and women.
Well, they're safe. They have central heating and air conditioning. They're far more cost effective than building a new structure and or warehouse. Ladies are all up front.
As you enter, you quickly realize this is more than a homeless shelter. This is a homeless intake and assessment center. So if I'm homeless and I come through the gate and I come to the tent, this is where I kind of check in.
Yeah.
And right away they're able to tell me this person's going to need some mental health assessment.
They do everything.
Last year, a deadly hepatitis A outbreak hit San Diego's homeless.
So far, 15 people have died from the illness and nearly 400 infected.
In response, Alpha Projects launched this massive staging area where homeless can be registered, assessed, evaluated, with health and social services all on site. Everyone who enters this building is treated with respect and given responsibility.
I don't clean this facility up. The people who live here do. And I tell them, this is your house. If you abuse it, we're going to lose it.
Homeless are given time to stay to get their lives back on track.
People have 120 days, and if they are, everybody here is mandated to work with a case manager or housing navigator.
The shelter opened last December, and within weeks, tents and tarps began to disappear from San Diego streets.
We literally had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in tents in tarp towns, as Skid Row does, you know, living in squalor and filth. People ask me all the time, God, why is this place so clean? Because now people have some hope. When you're out there in the squalor, who gives a damn where I pick my trash up?
And who paid for all of this? San Diego businesses who saw what was happening and jumped on board. Bob's message to them was blunt.
Do it or get off the pot. Now's your opportunity. Get in here and get busy.
Could the San Diego solution help Portland's homeless?
They're the structures that you see in San Diego right now.
Portland developer Homer Williams has started Harbor of Hope.
They're attractive, cost-effective, can be installed in 6 weeks.
Williams says it will be Portland's homeless navigation center for 120 people, providing most of the same services as the San Diego shelter, all in one location, all donated by Portland businesses. But for Harbor of Hope to get final approval, they'll have to overcome trust issues with nearby businesses and neighbors. They can take a lesson from San Diego.
No matter where you put something, you're going to piss off somebody's neighborhood. I don't want those people here.
Well, we got the school on the left-hand side. We got to make sure this area is spotless.
But if you look right over your shoulder, there's 2 elementary schools within a block away from us. They're our biggest advocates because crime goes away. I hire every gang member in the neighborhood. We patrol the neighborhood every day. We pick up all the trash. We make sure those kids get to and from school safely. So we bring in a resource to the neighborhood that didn't exist before we got here.
Why not bring a San Diego solution to Portland? Bill Russell of Union Gospel Mission says one obstacle, pride.
One of the downsides of Oregonians is we insist on being inventive in this area, and we're reluctant to borrow solutions from other areas.
So whether you care about homeless people or not, doing something is far, far, far less expensive than doing nothing.
Doing nothing. Is the homeless problem so visible that we've now accepted it, tolerate it? When we see the homeless, do we really notice?
Those people that we look at and we don't see who are there, they belong to us.
Greg Baker heads up Portland's Blanchet House. He wants all of us to stop, look, and look hard.
Those are our daughters, our sons, our uncles, our cousins, our fathers. That's who they are. They're not just people nameless. They do have names and they belong to people.
And that's the Unsheltered Truth.